Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. It's Wednesday night, hump day, for those of you that might use that distinction to track your week. But welcome everybody. Hope you're having a great week, whatever it is you're doing and however it is you're working through towards a weekend. But otherwise, for those of you that work Monday through Friday, you're on the downhill. Everything should be much groovier from here on out. But for those of you that aren't, then I'm just sorry. But I am here, and of course I'm not alone. I've got my good firstborn son with me. I don't have any bad children, but the firstborn is with me, and he is here to help me chug through the night here on the portal. And I'm speaking, of course, of Mr. Sheldon Thomas. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, and I'm always happy to carry the load of the show whenever I'm on.
What do you mean carry? I'm carrying it. You're just, you're assisting the carry. Are you saying?
Backpack's getting kind of heavy.
Yeah, I know. The weight of the portal gets a little large for anybody, but I'm glad you're here with me, and things are going good for you. Sorry, I got the hiccups. I'm trying to get through them, but they have another plan. Things going good for you?
Well, they're going pretty fantastic. I would say, yeah, they're going great. How are you doing? That's more important.
Other than the hiccups, I'm doing great. And I just got done being a guest on Bigfoot Odyssey just about an hour ago. And that was, excuse me, that's a hiccup. That was a great time. I had a great time with Carrie and Daniela over there. And we had a great discussion. And it was a lot of fun. I really appreciate them having me on. That was a real honor. I used to be on there pretty regularly, but it's just gotten busy for both us and them. And so it was nice to reunite with them. And so I had a good time. It was a great show. If you didn't catch it, head over to Bigfoot Odyssey channel on YouTube after this show, and you can check out my appearance on Bigfoot Odyssey. And you can tell me how I did. I think I did okay. But it was cool. It was cool.
Fantastic.
So that's what I've been doing so far. But we've got a whole bucket full of fun here on the show for you guys tonight. As always, we'll get into the news and we'll get into a whole bunch of other stuff dealing with the amazing cryptid and paranormal and just strange phenomena that has come to shape our world. So especially the world here on the Paranormal Portal. So if you're into all that, you're in the right place. Special thank you, first of all, goes out to the show sponsor, of course, Cryptid Coin. They are a newer cryptocurrency dealing with things cryptocurrencies deal with, but they got their heart in their heart of their focus is encrypted research and investigations. So if you want to get involved in that, you certainly can. Like anything, I'm not an investment broker or an advisor, so I can't tell you if it's a win for you or not. But it's pretty exciting because it's the first one out there that really took our world as the focus for their mission. And so to check it out and learn more, head over to cryptidcoin.io. Again, that's cryptidcoin.io. And you can learn a lot more about it. It's also available now on Pancake Swap, so check it out. It may be a good fit for you. I'm just saying. So special thank you to Cryptid Coin for sponsoring the Paranormal Portal. We are absolutely thrilled to have you as part of the team. So thank you again. And now, I do want to say this, as long as we're doing a little bit of the messaging here on the front end. In September, I know Don will be there, I will be there, and perhaps Sheldon will be there if we can swing it all. And we are going to be at an event that's happening in Vernal, Utah, and this is called Phenomicon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be there, and it's an event going on from September 8th through the 11th of 2022. If you can swing it, if you can make it, love to have you come and show up. It'd be great to meet you guys, those of you that are out there listening to the shows. I've met, listeners here and there in the past, and it's always been a real thrill and an honor. So I'd love to meet you there. So if you have that weekend free or that weekend free, by all means, head over to Vernal, Utah. It's Phenomicon, and look at this laundry list of speakers over here. It's going to be great. April Slaughter, who's a paranormal investigator. Dr. Jeff Meldrum's going to be there. Greg Lawson, James Keenan, Russell Accord. Russ is a great guy. I've gotten to know him through a few events that I attended where he was, and I met him in person earlier than that in a studio in Spokane, and we chatted. He's just an amazing guy. James Vieira, of course, of History Channel's Giants shows, where they're looking for archaeological proof of giants. Stacy Brown's going to be there. Bryant the Dragon Arnold is going to be there. Several other people. Russell Cord, if you don't know, he's on Expedition Bigfoot, and two other people. Ronnie LeBlanc is going to be there, and Dr. Maria Mayer is going to be there. And Adam Davis is going to be there as well. One of the big things, if you get a chance, and you've got to meet Bob Gimlin. And Bob will be right out there in his booth, and he's about the nicest guy you ever want to meet. He's just the sweetest man, the most genuine, down-to-earth, wonderful soul. I was able to spend some time with him in Medellin Falls and a little bit when we went over to Squatch Fest over in Washington State. And Bob is just about as real a person as you're ever going to meet, and he makes you just feel special. He's just got that charm and light in him. And he's basically the godfather of all the Bigfoot movement going on. And it was an honor for me to meet him, and I know you guys would love him too. If you get a chance, head over there and say hello to Bob. It's just a great opportunity, and he loves taking pictures and meeting people. So there's so much going on in this event, and you can see all these other presenters and people that are involved that are attached with this as well. And there's also this huge schedule of events going on from September 7th through the 11th. And so if you get a chance, head over to Vernal, Utah, and become a part of it. And you can find out so much more by going to phenomicon.net. Phenomicon.net. So Phenomicon, this word, .net. And you can learn more about it, including how to buy tickets and lodging and stuff like that. So check it out. There's also a link up here in the upper right for tickets and such. So check it out. It's going to be an amazing event. It'd be really fun to meet you guys there if you get a chance to be there. We're really thrilled to be a part of it as well. We're going to have a booth, as well as possibly doing interviews with people as we're there. So it'll be a great time. Look forward to it. So that is Phenomicon, ladies and gentlemen. So if you get a chance.
I'm excited for that. That's going to be awesome. And I as well hope to meet some of you, if not all of you, there as well.
Absolutely. So we're gonna be there for sure, and it'd be really cool if all of you were there as well. So check it out, phenomicon.net. I don't know about you, Sheldon, but I got a hankering for some news. What do you think?
I was gonna say that sounds like a great idea.
You always say that, but at least you're consistent. There's consistency.
I am.
Consistency is important. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the news. But before we do that, hang on, buckle in, because it's about to get spooky. All right, folks, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. It's exactly like the other desk, but it's got cool colors and stuff around us. So it's kind of the illusion of a news desk, right, Sheldon?
That's right.
So welcome to the Paranormal Portal News, where we cover all kinds of stuff. Some of it's actually paranormal, but oh my God, what the hell did I do? I don't know what I did.
You do?
I went back for somehow. Okay, got it sorted out. I've got one of these mice that have like 8 buttons on it, and sometimes I hit one of the wrong buttons, and it does weird things to my browser. So I'm just not prepared for all this technology. So let's go to the news, folks. The first article I got up for you tonight is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. It's a great site. Definitely support what they're doing over there, ladies and gentlemen, because they got a lot of wonderful news stories and little digestible bites and tidbits of all the weird and strange and wonderful stuff going on, including technology and archaeology, but also the bizarre cryptozoology and a whole host of the stuff we love here. So check it out. The article that we're going to start with is apparently there was a robot lost. A photo of robot lost in the woods goes viral. There it is. Little R2D2. These are not the droids you're looking for.
The picture's showing up under our
faces?
under our feed.
Oh my God.
Under our video feeds.
That's weird. Let's make it bigger, shall we?
I think so.
Let me do this. Let me move it over here a little bit. That's strange, isn't it? Oh, I know why I did that. You know why I did that? Because last show I did live, I had Shane Grove of From the Shadows on, and I couldn't get the picture thing working like you're in, so I had to crop the screen so he could be on it. So there you go. This is a picture of the droid. This is not the droid you're looking for. Apparently, I don't know where this droid was going, but it says an innocuous snap of a delivery robot wandering through some woodland has been gaining a lot of attention on Twitter. There will come a day when human postal workers will be replaced with automated robots capable of negotiating through busy streets, navigating confusing paths, and bringing letters and parcels directly to your door with minimal fuss and bother. Such a future may be quite a long way off, however, as evidenced by a recent photograph taken by Matthew McCormack, who had been cycling through a woodland in Northampton at the weekend when he came across what appeared to be a delivery robot that had become completely and utterly lost. Oh, poor little guy.
Oh.
The pint-sized contraption, which typically delivers groceries, seemed to be miles from wherever it was supposed to be and was ambling on, minding its own business along the woodland. He's like, I'm free. They'll never take me alive. I'm not going back. He's just off running for it. McCormack snapped a quick photo and posted it up on Twitter, but was amazed to find out the next morning that it had gone viral with more than 240,000 likes and 20,000 retweets and 2,000 replies. Wow, is that what you got to do? Take pictures of robots. Note to self, need a portal droid.
Yeah.
People really seem to be connected with it. Many social media users saw the funny side, with one suggesting that the robot had gained sentience and was on a mental health walk. According to Starship Technologies, which operates the robots, this one wasn't lost, but was instead on its way to make a delivery to its next customer. Really?
What?
Yeah. Was it delivering to the Yeti? What the hell?
Gotta get their food somehow.
Yeah, I guess. Somebody's out there. Yeah, I mean, geez, you could scrub it out of the ground, or you could just order some, Meals on Wheels, I guess.
Yeah.
Very weird. Huh. But there you go. There's not much more to it than that, but it's just this weird little robot out there wandering around. But I guess it was not lost. It knew exactly where it was going.
That is paranormal. So, yeah.
It is. It's definitely not normal, folks. And that's what we love here on the portal. So that's the first article of fun up on the deck. See, is there any wonder we love doing the news? It's all this weird, bizarre stuff as well.
Get the best kind of stories that they don't cover.
Yeah, I know you won't see this on CNN. Here's the next one. And this is A rare 17th century book on alien life was discovered, according to unexplained-mysteries.com. So a rare 17th century book. That's really kind of cool. That's plenty old. That's like the 1600s, right? They were dreaming about what's up in the stars too, or is this like accounts and encounters? That was supposed to be funny. It was in my head, for what it's worth. Thanks. You're gonna get muted. That'll be a mutiny. Published in 1698, the book offers a unique look into how people from the time perceived the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Discovered by books valuer, I don't know what a book's valuer is, Jim Spencer at an antique valuation event in Gloucestershire. I was told by Mom that that's a shire, not a shire. So thank you, Mom. She's still correcting me. Gloucestershire, England. The book was written by Christian Huygens and explores the possible existence of extraterrestrial entities while posing the question of why God would have created other planets solely for us to look at. Good point. It's titled The Celestial World Discovered, or Conjectures Concerning the Inhabitants, Planets, and Productions of the Worlds in the Planets. Jesus, wow. That's how they did it back then, I guess. Is certainly a mouthful. Many of the ideas and conclusions Huygens reaches in the book seem a bit strange by today's standards. However, they were consistent with the science at the time. He speculates that intelligent aliens must have hands like our own due to their convenience, and that they must also have human-like feet unless they have developed the ability to fly. He also suggests that these beings are likely to pursue many of the same sports and interests that we do, such as astronomy, sailing, and listening to music, but that they are also likely to be afflicted with poverty, war, and other misfortune because it is what promotes invention and progress. The book, which is to be sold at auction, is expected to fetch up to $4,000. It's fascinating to think who turned these pages in 1698 that they must have felt when reading these descriptions of life on Jupiter or Saturn before gazing up into the night sky, said Spencer. It was probably their version of the Inquirer. It's like it was a privy book or something. You know, that's what they call the bathrooms back then, privy.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Water closet. It's great water closet reading. That is kind of cool though to have an old book like that, because they were handmade. There was no mass production back then. So very neat.
I mean, I might be wrong. I would have expected that to be even higher in price.
I actually was thinking the same thing. It's like a book from the 1600s is only $4,000. Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a real piece of history. Maybe because it's just such a marginal work that, it never gained any kind of notoriety, but it's still pretty cool. I would think a paranormal collector would be able to pay much more, but why would you if you can get it for $4,000?
True. Yeah.
But at any rate, that's kind of cool. They were thinking it way back then too. We're not unique. Here's another one, and this is the next article up on the newscast tonight, folks. And this is also from unexplained-mysteries.com. Reports Queen's Brian May photographs a crop circle. Of course, the band Queen, their guitarist, is named Brian May. And he photographed a crop circle, apparently. I don't know if there's an image of... Yeah, there is, actually. There's images here. The legendary rock guitarist who has a PhD in astrophysics. Really? Wow.
What?
Way to achieve, brother. Recently spotted something odd in a field in the UK. These days, crop circles tend to be regarded more as works of art than evidence of alien visitors. However, the phenomenon still manages to generate interest whenever the new design shows up. Most recently, Queen guitarist and astrophysicist Brian May sparked some debate on Instagram after he managed to capture a photograph of an intriguing formation in a field near Marlborough in England. The pattern is quite intricate, sporting an octagonal outer frame and a saw blade shaped interior. Notice anything unusual here in the English countryside, he wrote. I never spotted a crop circle myself before, so probably always a bit skeptical about them. But yesterday, flying back from our production rehearsal space, flying over a location not far from Marlborough, there was this. You can check out the image for yourself below. There it is. Yeah, I don't. That is kind of bizarre.
I'm just waiting for the delay. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Look at that, huh?
It's got lines going all through the field as well, and then designs.
I don't know that these lines are anything unusual. I think that they're just like
that might
tractor
be
lines.
tractor.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
it's just
Yeah.
normal. But the pattern itself, of course, is unusual. But
Oh.
I'm not saying this is necessarily anything other than somebody going out and making a cool shape in the field. But I don't know. It doesn't sound like it was placed very well to get much notoriety. If that's the case, it is pretty geometrically solid. It could be something really incredible. But on first looks, it's definitely not the most intricate one I've seen by a long shot.
Yeah.
But who knows? It was just kind of laying out there and waiting for somebody to see it, I guess. Whatever that sign means, but it probably is just somebody going out there and stomping out a pattern. But I think some of them could be legitimate because there are reports of them appearing overnight and just these incredibly intricate patterns that are geometrically nearly flawless. And it's like, how would, you strap a board to your feet and walk around and do that? But not saying it isn't possible, but it just seems like a hell of an achievement. And if you're going to waste that much time stomping crops, maybe you should do something better with your time. But for whatever reason, some people love a good hoax. So that's that. You be the judge. However you feel about the crop circles, I think that there are potentially some very legitimate ones. And I think there are a bunch of forgeries and hoaxes because people love to get a rise out of making people believe things.
Of course, yeah.
Of course. But let's go to the next one here. And the next article from unexplained-mysteries.com is... Dun, dun, dun. Pause for effect. Is... Sheep is sentenced to jail for killing a woman in Sudan. A sheep killed a woman in Sudan. And they sentenced it to jail. Dude, are they pretty sure it was done with malice? I mean, I hate that woman. No, I'm gonna get my paws on her. I mean, how do you hold the sheep criminally liable for that? It says it's not just human offenders who face prison sentence for committing a crime in some parts of the world. The ram ferociously attacked and killed 45-year-old Adui Chopping earlier this month and was taken into custody in South Sudan on the basis that it had committed murder. The ram attacked by hitting her ribs, and the woman died immediately. Oh, really?
Jeez.
That must have been a hell of a shot. I guess if it shattered her ribs and punctured vital organs, that's game over. But said Major Elijah Mabor. So this is what happened in Rumbek East, in a place called Akul. Our role as police is to provide safety and separate fights. The ram was apprehended and currently under the custody of a police station of Maleng Agok Payam. The owner is innocent, and the ram is the one who perpetuated the crime, so it deserves to be arrested. Then later, the case shall be forwarded to customary court, where the case can be handled handed amicably. Bizarrely, the animal now faces a 3-year prison sentence at a military camp. Once it gets out, it will be gifted to the family of the victim. The ram's owner is also expected to offer them 5 cows as compensation. Well, yeah, you definitely want to train your livestock better. How many cows can this guy afford to be forking out for one ram?
Wonder how the ram pleaded.
I don't even know how to make a bad joke out of that, to be honest with you.
That's a special situation. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's a whole different world, I mean, really, there's just cultures have different rules, but why don't they just give it to their family? Why put it in jail for 3 years? It's like, maybe they could get some mileage out of it while it's 3 years younger. I don't know.
True.
I don't know. Just saying, if it's for whatever reason, but it's tragic, of course, somebody lost their life, but you're really going to imprison a ram for that? It's just a ram being a ram. It's like, that fish swam over my foot. It's obviously negligent. Put it in jail. It's swimming. It just does what it does.
It's battery.
The ram pleaded battery.
Oh no.
Thank you. I'm here all night. I was waiting for
You
some
deserve
kind of
that.
joke that would work with the ram sheep sound. And you brought it to the line, Sheldon. Thank you so much for
Oh, Nina's so proud of you.
that. Well, you're not the only one that can make bad jokes. Oh, oh, it's getting
Oh.
saucy in here. No, you love a good pun, though. You always love those dry jokes.
I've grown up.
No, I've seen your Facebook feed. You haven't. You still love a good dry joke. All right.
Illusion.
Unexplained-mysteries.com also gives us this article. Scientists succeed in growing plants in soil from the moon. I don't know. Is this one long? Yeah, it's pretty long. So they've apparently grown plants from the moon, ladies and gentlemen, from soil.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess that's good, right? Because
Nice.
if they made moon bases, they know that they could cultivate crops. So I'm saying that's a good thing. They don't have to bring dirt with them. That should save some shipping, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's radioactive dirt or something like that. I was like, wait a minute. No, that won't work. But it's a long article. I'm not going to read all that. It's kind of a cool point of mention, but not cool enough to waste 10 minutes reading it. So, I
It
mean,
kind of shows that it shows that maybe we could progress to having moon bases and have like a sustainable, gardening and all that.
is my mic working?
Um,
Is it working?
Yeah.
Are you hearing me?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's exactly what I just said. But anyway.
Oh, I see. I must have just tuned you out.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, yeah, I pay attention to me. I mean, my God. No, that's hilarious. You just said the exact same thing I said. They could cultivate crops on the moon, is what I said. Yeah.
I was going through okay. Yeah, whatever. Continue.
All right, let's go to the next article. And I think this would be absolutely horrifying, but in a good way, because I guess it ended well. But here's the story from unexplained-mysteries.com, folks. Deceased woman bangs on lid of her own coffin. Good God, that would be horrendous.
Oh no.
Could you imagine coming to and you're in your own coffin?
Oh no. I've heard of stories like that, and that is so scary to me. Oh.
Could you imagine? Because you don't know if you're underground at that point. It's like, oh my God, what do you do? Deceased woman bangs on the lid of her own coffin. A funeral in Peru was interrupted last week when the person who had died turned out to be very much alive. The thought of being erroneously declared dead and then buried alive in a coffin is a scenario that most people would consider among their worst nightmares. Yet, this is exactly what happened to one unfortunate woman who was thought to have died in Peru recently. Rosa Isabella Caspe de Cayaca, who had been declared dead after being involved in a car crash a few weeks earlier, was in the process of being interred at her own funeral when she shocked relatives suddenly heard her banging on the lid from inside the coffin. Oh my God. I mean, I can only laugh because that is so bizarre. Kayaka was quickly rescued and transferred to a hospital where she was put on life support machine. Sadly, however, despite the quick intervention, she died for real this time a few hours later. Oh my God, that's horrible. She opened her eyes and was sweating, said the cemetery's janitor. I immediately went to my office and called the police. The woman's outraged family is now seeking an explanation for how this could have happened. Yeah, I don't know how that works, but in Peru, but I would imagine you could sue some doctor into poverty, for that. It's like, pronounced her dead. And she was obviously needing medical intervention in a bad way because, being almost dead, you have to be pretty wrecked. And maybe she would have been fine had she gotten that treatment. That's so tragic. Oh, so the last thing she remembers was waking up in her own coffin. Oh, man, that was her last memory. Oof. I don't know. That's terrifying. But horrible, but true, I guess. And that was actually, what was the date on that one? That was from May 5th. So that's not that old.
Oh God, it's recent too.
Yeah, it's like modern. It's not like an old story. You'd hear about stories like that from the 17 and 1800s, and People were
Yeah.
just pronounced dead because, they couldn't detect weak life signs. But, with our modern world, you'd think they would plug her into something and have a look for a while. And maybe they did. Maybe she just had maybe she did pass for a bit and came back. I don't know. That's tragic. Oh, dear God. Wow. That's horrible.
I'm surprised she was even alive at that point because don't they? I mean, I guess it could be different in Peru, but
Yeah,
don't they
they may
fill
not
you with
embalm.
like?
Embalming? No, I don't know. Obviously, they wouldn't have, because if they had, that would have, of course, ended her life right there. Because they
Yeah.
drain the blood and they put in formaldehyde substance, and
Oh, that's right. They train the blood.
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, oof, what a deal. And I wonder why they do that. To be honest with you, it's like, why? I mean, if you're passed on, why do you want to not degrade? Do you want to be the nicest looking corpse in the cemetery? Is that what you're going for? Because you're underground, you're in dirt, and nobody's going to see you again if everything goes well.
That's true. It is weird. It only delays what is naturally going to
Yes.
happen. It doesn't like
Yes.
stop it from happening.
Right. It's not like mummification or something like that. It's like you're going to break down eventually. You're just prolonging that by maybe a good 50 years or so, and then you're going to break down. It's just like, oh, horrible. But anyway, I don't know. I don't understand a lot of things like that, but I don't pretend to know either. I mean, maybe there's a logic behind it that I'm just not aware of.
It makes you think though too, like how many people, I mean, obviously it happens recently, but how many people before we were able to
Oh,
detect
yeah.
weak life signs had that happen? And I know there's stories of people that, they open old coffins and they find scratches on the inside and it's like, oh no.
Yeah, that's horrible. But so here's the other thing. It's like, how many people, before they figured out that when people fall into icy water, they kind of go into a like comatose hibernation state,
Yes.
and how many people were pronounced dead and just sent to a funeral home when they could have just been warmed up. They started finding out that you have a good chance of warming people back up, and they may be revivable, and especially in so many cases, and that would just be such a heartbreaker. Oh, that's one of those things. It's almost better to just not know than to have something like happen and then years later find out, oh wait, they're reviving people that have been submerged in water for extended periods of time. It's like, oh God, that would be horrendous. That'd be horrendous. But I mean, people do the best they can with what they know. But anyway, let's go to this one. Unexplained-mysteries.com. Yellow Brick Road found 3 kilometers beneath the sea. This kind of qualifies as paranormal, I would think. What is this? Researchers, well, how big is this? Nope, it's a good-sized article. Researchers aboard the research vessel Nautilus have discovered something unusual at the bottom of the ocean, nested deep beneath the waves of the... Oh, man, look at that word. Luluikalani Ridge in the north of Hawaii. This intriguing geological feature was spotted during an exploration of the... Oh, look at that word.
Oh, yeah, you're on your own.
That's Marine National Monument, whatever it is. I don't want to butcher it and embarrass myself any further, so we'll just call it the National Monument, which is one of the largest marine conservation areas on the planet. The team behind the discovery certainly isn't hiding anything. The Ocean Exploration Trust actually streams its footage online, and anyone can tune in to watch what they're up to in real time. They also post highlight videos of particularly interesting finds, such as this one on YouTube. And it says the Yellow Brick Road, as it has been referred to, is actually the result of ancient volcanic activity. At the summit of Nukta Seamount, the team spotted dried lake bed formation, now ID'd as a fractured flow of hyaloclastite rock, a volcanic rock formed in high-energy eruptions, where many rock fragments settle into the seabed, the team wrote. The unique 90-degree fractures are likely related to heating and cooling stress from multiple eruptions in this baked margin. You can check out the footage for yourself below. Yeah, looking at it from this image, I guess we could look at a little bit of it here. Let me just mute it. And let's see what they find here as we're going through it. But I mean, it does have brick-like appearance, but when you look at the actual images, they're not. Let's move ahead a little bit here. They're not like in symmetrical pieces. It looks like a bad cobblestone kind of thing, but it does. I mean, some of it does look like cobblestone. I don't know, but I think that they're probably right. But that is very unusual.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, it really is. That's pretty amazing, pretty breathtaking. But yeah, and then it just kind of ends there. So it did look yellow like the yellow brick road, but Dorothy ain't following that one. Know what I'm saying?
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for a Wizard of Oz joke.
I'm not beyond making stupid jokes. I'll just say it. I'll just put it out there because things are funny in my head and there's no filter stopping them for the most part. So anyway, folks, that's the news. I hope you guys enjoyed this little field trip into the unusual. I don't know what else to say. It's bizarre stuff, but I have fun talking about the news. I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know in the comments. I'm interested always to hear what you guys think of the shows. So that'll do it for the news. Let's get back to the regular program. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed that segment, and we'll keep moving forward here.
Maggie says, I love the way you guys say Dorothy.
Dorothy? How do you say Dorothy, Maggie? I'd love to hear what you said. Dorothy?
Yeah.
Dorothy? I don't know. I don't know. Australian accent works for that, but yeah. Dorothy, I think is the right pronunciation. But however you say
it's probably the accent.
Yeah, well, we do have accents as far as Maggie's concerned. But what else was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Actually, our good friend Cade of the Believe podcast just released one of the Paranormal Portal podcast episodes on his channel. Just yesterday, I think it just released. So that's kind of exciting. And I'll be releasing one of his episodes on the Paranormal Portal podcast as well. So you get a chance to hear Believe podcast. Just check it out. It's not live yet. It'll probably be live in a couple days. Maybe even tomorrow if I find the time. I'll just do it as a bonus episode. But Cade does a hell of a job on the Believe podcast. So if you're not familiar with it, Cade Moya is our good friend from Australia. He has a podcast called the Believe Podcast. It's just Believe, not the Believe. It's Believe Podcast, and he covers all the same kind of stuff that we cover on the portal. And he does just a phenomenal job. So if you're not familiar with it, you can certainly look for Believe Podcast out of Australia, and you don't have to. It's not out of Australia, but you look on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and a whole bunch of other platforms carry it. Check it out. His shows are really very, very well done. So I'll be featuring one of his episodes as a bonus episode on the Paranormal Portal podcast, which is not what you're watching now. This is our YouTube show. It's not our podcast. The podcast is a separate production entirely with, sometimes we take YouTube episodes and port them over to the podcast, but for the most part, they are absolutely unique and different shows than anything going on over here, because we tend to do a variety show over here, just covering lots of different stuff. But special thanks to Cade for doing that. I hope we get to meet a whole bunch of new Australian viewers and, kind of introduce people to the portal from down under. We've always actually performed really well in Australia for our listeners and on the charts down there. So it's been really cool. Really great friendship between Cade and myself. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. What are you smiling about, Sheldon?
No, I'm just smiling at your story.
Oh,
and, yeah.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. So
I think you said it very well.
Well, thank you. I say it as well as I know how. So we got a bunch of paranormal to cover here. No, what is this? This is not the one, is it? Why didn't I close? Oh, I kept this one open because I remember why. Okay. All right. We're covering an article. We've been covering it through several shows, but we'll continue it. by moneymade.com. And again, Moneymade's not known for their paranormal articles, but this is like a Reddit aggregate article where they go out on Reddit and farm comments from a thread or threads having to do with the paranormal. I think they do these articles because they put hundreds of them on one article, one of the hundreds of comments and posts on one article. And I think they do it to plant a bunch of ads so they generate revenue for their site. But they do a really good job on these, and they've been really a lot of fun to cover on the show. When I find them, I'm always kind of happy because they contain so much different information in one show or one article. But I do want to say, if you want to call in, you can certainly do that. If any of you out there have a paranormal thing you want to share with us, by all means, call in at 720-923-0500. So 720-923-0500. It is pinned on the top of the YouTube chat, so you'll see it there. It's also right above my head in small numbers, right under the words Paranormal Portal on the top of the screen. So there's a couple of ways to call in. If you don't want to call, like it kind of intimidates you or freaks you out, or you don't want to do it, then you can certainly just email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. If you got a bunch of experiences, email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, because I'm always looking for new guests for the podcast, and would love to have you tell your story. So, excuse me.
Actually, it's something interesting happened recently.
Oh, do tell.
Last week. It's a short story, but I came home and one of the picture frames was thrown. Like, it looked like it had been just like hit and tossed about, I don't know, around 5-ish feet away, actually.
From the wall? Or where was
it?
What, it was.
Oh, it was. There's like this little ledge.
Okay.
And we have a bunch of picture frames on it, and it looked like it was just like, for where it was positioned, it looked like it was just kind of like hit and thrown or whatever. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I know
nothing happened. It was just a one-off, but it was weird. I don't know.
Or was it? You've had weird events happen there on and off through the years, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
On and off.
I don't know if it's a one-off necessarily, or just something they're trying to get your attention at that point. But very interesting.
I said hello.
Did you? Hi. Quit beating up my stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't throw my pictures. What was the picture of?
My great grandparents.
Oh, okay.
So it could be related.
Could be
to that. Maybe a hello. So
yeah, might be. Was it broken?
No, not at all. It was intact.
All right. Well, that's a good sign. If it was broken, that's not a good
sign.
Yeah.
But that's a bad omen.
Yeah. If it's broken, that generally means it's more aggressive. Alice says, you break it, you buy it. That's right. Yeah.
I wish I had ghost money.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can find pennies and stuff every once in a while. Maybe those are ghost monies. All right. So let's get to that article, unless anybody else have anything else they want to talk about. No calls. So if you want to call in, definitely call in. But we're on number 26 of this Money Made article that I was talking about. Let's get into it. And this article is Twisted Supernatural Experiences. So let's see what twisted supernatural experiences are going on here. It says, number 26, we thought we were going crazy. When I was a student, the campus was located in what had been an old insane asylum. I might have read this one already, but I'm rereading it now. I was a student professor team leader, and we usually had our meetings after hours. One time we're sitting in what used to be the old employee cafeteria. A little while into the meeting, suddenly all of us, 8 people in total, turned simultaneously. Everyone heard what seemed like a woman's scream coming from an open window towards the old women's wing. We all knew we were the only ones on the campus at the time. It was creepy. Or it could be a woman who was in trouble, and you guys just thought it was a ghost. That was by Leo Kinnear. Well, I'm sure if they were the only ones there, then that's plenty creepy. But yeah. Number 27, Ghost Tours. A few years back, my wife and I were taking a tour of the Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. As we started into the building, my wife kept swatting at the back of her head saying, "Stop it," and giving me dirty looks. Well, this happened twice in a row, but I ignored it, trying to listen to the tour guide tell us about the history of the place, the paranormal happenings, etc. A few seconds later, the guide said, "By the way, girls, if you have long hair, don't be surprised if it gets tugged on." Well, that seems to happen a lot, especially in the area we're in. My wife turned to me, pale as a sheet, and said, "That really wasn't you pulling on my ponytail, was it?" Welcome to Waverly Hills, piped Sean. The interesting thing is, Waverly Hills has got a lot of activity going on. Yeah, there's an old sanatorium. It's also an old tuberculosis hospital. The picture here shows one side of it where they had all this open patios on here because when the tuberculosis, one of the treatments was to put people in sunshine because they felt like that might help. And I don't know that it ever did, but it was worth a shot, I guess, because of course our bodies operate better with good bit of sunlight, vitamin D maybe, or whatever reason. But yeah, so that was one of the treatments they would use, and that's why there's all these open openings here. These are basically the patio areas all the way down here, and they'd wheel people out and just let them sit in the sunshine. So, but yeah, a lot of people passed away there. There's an old tunnel that they moved the bodies out that was underground so that people wouldn't see a parade of, corpses getting wheeled out all the time and get lose hope and despair about their impending demise. But yeah, tuberculosis was a horrible disease. That was just, it still exists, but it's not quite as huge as it was. Thank God there's a lot of treatments, even though there are some antibiotic resistant versions of it around. Yeah, that's always horrible. Number 28, it was the drive of his life. I want to say also, if any of you are in chat, you don't want to call in, but you have a comment to make, at least put it in capital letters so it sticks out. But you can do an @ sign, the shift number 2 @ sign, and either my name, Paranormal Portal, or Sheldon's name. You can put it in there, and it will at least make it obvious to us in order to read your comments. So there's a Beast Titan in here. I've never seen that name before. Welcome, Beast Titan.
Welcome.
Oh, just reading his comments. It's like,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, great time to acknowledge you.
It's got some interesting stuff to say.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, welcome. Thanks for checking out the show, Beast Titan. Appreciate it, but try to keep it clean. We got all kinds of age groups taking part here, so please don't get too graphic or horrendous with your language. Number 28, it was the drive of his life. My childhood friend and his dad were really close, and whenever his dad was home, he would play Gran Turismo on PlayStation. When we were like 5 or 6, his dad was killed in a car accident. And after a few months of grieving, Michael and his mom went home to find that his TV had been turned on, but it only got creepier from there. His PlayStation was also on and Gran Turismo was running. However, he had left a different game in the PlayStation. That was by Mikey D. Block. I will tell you this, from my own experience, and I've shared it here many times through the years, but my dad passed away about 3 years ago now, and he would always sit out on a 4-season porch that Mom and Dad had, and that was where Dad's TV was, and Mom would always watch her TV in the living room of the house. And so, because my dad liked to watch a lot of Gunsmoke and Walker, Texas Ranger, and things that my mom just couldn't get her teeth into, she didn't have the desire to sit and watch reruns of either. So Dad would always be out there watching his TV, and Mom would always be inside watching his TV. And after he passed, there's several weird stories. Well, I guess I'll share them all because it does relate to this story quite a bit. After he passed, there was a couple things going on. My parents have a seasonal tree. It looks like a Christmas tree, but they would decorate it for the seasons or whatever as the seasons came and passed, like Easter and all the other holidays and such. So that was always on, but then they liked to turn it on at night. That was always part of the deal. They would always turn on the Christmas tree at night, and it created this neat effect out in this big 4-season porch. And the tree would turn on by itself, and the only way to turn it on is it had a foot switch, like a stomp switch, to turn it on or off, or even if it was plugged in, it wouldn't be on unless you clicked that switch. So that would be on, which is weird. But his TV used to turn on as well. Now, that went on for a while, and it was pretty apparent. Never did that before, ever. But after my dad's passing, suddenly this TV decided to turn on. And I was like, well, it must be Dad. He must still be there letting you know he's around. And I thought that was really cool. And a lot of these instances had happened for a while, but it kind of culminated in well, it still continues to happen every once in a while. Mom, of course, can vouch for this, but the biggest event is the following chain of events. First of all, I was sitting here in my studio, and my phone rang, and I looked at it, and it was my mom's cell phone number. I'm like, huh. So I answer it, but nobody's there. I'm like, hello? And I figure, oh, well, Mom pocket dialed me. And so I get, I'm just listening. I tried to whistle, yell, say hello, so they hear it maybe, but nothing. But I did hear like a man voice in the background. And I thought, well, maybe my brother is over, and my older brother was over visiting and stuff. And so I was listening, and every once in a while that voice would be like, like clearing its throat and doing that. And I was like, huh. And it was in the distance. It wasn't like right in the speaker. It was in the distance, just like a pocket dial would be. If you've been pocket dialed, you hear people talking, but it's not really close to this phone. So I'm trying to get to their attention, but to no avail. So finally I hung up, and I'm like, well, I'll just call her back and let her know that she had pocket dialed me. So I called back. The phone rings, and goes to voicemail. I'm like, well, that's weird. So I hung up. And I thought, well, maybe she didn't hear it ring. She's got it on silent or whatever. But about 15 minutes later, my mom calls me, says, hi, what'd you want? I'm like, what? Yeah, you called. What did you want? I'm like, what did I want? What did you want? I said, you pocket dialed me. And she said, what? I was like, yeah, you called me. I said, is Jeff over? She said, no. And I was like, well, I could hear like a man, male voice. I figured Jeff must be visiting, and you pocket dialed me. And she says, that's not possible. I said, what? She said, I'm here alone. The house is locked, and I was just down in the shower. I just got up now. My phone was on the dining room table. I was like, but Mom, your phone called me. She's like, oh, wow. And so we talked about it. It was really bizarre. So that in and of itself could be paranormal, it's up to you to decide. But in connection with the TV turning on and off, lights turning on and off, etc., it was just another event. So that night on my show, it was a Friday night, I go on my live show, and I'm like, hey, check this out, and go over the events that I just shared with you. I said, I think my dad is still around. And I talked about how cool that was, and it was neat that he was making himself known, and it was just kind of reaffirming. I talked about, many things about that. And I got done with the show and so much, went to bed. Next morning I'm up, and I'm sitting here in the studio again. My phone rings. It's my mom. I'm like, oh, what's up? She goes, you're never going to believe this. And I'm like, what? She says, well, your dad's TV turned on. And I was like, oh, okay. Did it again, huh? And she goes, no, not just turned on. It's playing your show. And you're talking about what's been happening in this house. And I was like, what? So what this means, ladies and gentlemen, my dad has a smart TV, but it had never been connected to the internet. Or it had been, but was never used. It had never been used to browse the internet. It had never been used to YouTube. So somehow my dad's TV turned itself on. And somehow, not only did it turn itself on, but it went into the internet. Not only did it go to the internet, but it went to YouTube. Not only just YouTube, it went to my channel. And not only my channel, but it was playing the episode from the night before where I was talking about all the events happening in that house. Now, that is so many layers deep. I don't care who you are. Yeah. You'd have better luck pulling folded clothes from your dryer than that happening. That is so many levels of impossibility. That absolutely, my hand to everything that is holy and good, that is the truth. And she videoed it. She took her phone and videoed it and sent me a clip. And it's a true story. So if you don't believe in this stuff, that's fine. You don't have to. But when there's so many pieces of evidence on top of each other, so many impossible coincidences that happened in sequence, in perfect concert. I mean, it's if you walk away from that, yeah, I mean, you have to believe me that what I'm telling you is true, but that's up to you. But just amazing. I do think our loved ones hang out with us, that they're there. And maybe he was there for a while. Maybe he's still there. Maybe he stops in. I don't know. But an amazing series of events. So I thought that was just really, really incredible. And again, 100% true story. My hand to God. But
it is probably the craziest one of your stories. One of them, at least.
Yeah, exactly. It's for me. I mean, I've had a lot of paranormal events. But that one really blows me away because it was so aimed, so precisely aimed, that it wasn't just, hey, something turned on. It has no business turning on. But it turned on, was on the internet, was on YouTube, was on my channel, was playing the very episode where I was talking about all these events that were happening in that house. I was just like, wow, that is so incredible.
Android Purity says, some TVs you can say, hey, Google, play Paranormal Portal on YouTube.
Yeah. No.
So maybe, oh my.
No, it's not that smart. His TV wasn't that smart.
My phone, I triggered my phone.
Oh,
triggered it. It went to Paranormal Portal. It did. Thank you, Android. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. On the newer generation, you have that voice option, but his was, a very older version of that. So I don't know, just a crazy series of events, but yeah. And I will tell you, Alice says that she was there, or Elise, I was there that night. Wow. Yeah, that was just cool. Just a really cool series of events. So for it to be so impressive, amazing. So I love that story because it really correlates to the one we just read. And I mean, it's so profound that not only are they there, is he there, or was he there, that he was making himself absolutely known. Another time my mom was watching news and she was in brushing her teeth and she heard the TV change and she went back out to the TV she was watching and it was playing the oldies channel, just a music channel. And she wasn't even in the room, but my dad loved the old music as well. So that was really cool. But let's go to the next one. Sorry. I think it's important to try to underpin some of this stuff with actual events that I can vouch for that actually did happen, because otherwise it's just a collection of stories. So when you can tie it into actual experiences, whether your experiences that you've shared with me or my own, that just really punctuates the whole thing. And we have a call. We have a call from Australia. So let's get to this call. Hello, Australia.
Hello.
Hi, Maggie.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi,
That was
Meg.
an amazing story.
What's that?
That was an amazing story.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not story, you know what I mean?
So say Dorothy, first of all. I want to hear what that sounds like.
Yeah.
Actually, well, I have more of a British accent, so it's like Dorothy.
Dorothy? Okay. Well, that's nice. That was nice. Okay.
A hard R.
Hard R. So what's going on with you tonight?
Oh, I just felt like now was the right time to share my biggest encounter.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
I don't know, I just felt right. Yeah, so I think, as I said before, like I've had like a rare problem with my brain, and it affects my brain stem. So it doesn't affect like the front part of my brain; it affects the back part of my brain.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
In 2017, I had a big stroke.
Oh no.
But in the few weeks beforehand, we had chairs moving. Like around our dining room table, we've got like 8 chairs. And both me and my husband saw the chairs were moving, like even saw one move at once.
Oh, wow.
But I was having diminished brain capacity, I suppose you could say. So I just assumed I was having hallucinations.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so I had this sort of like a diminished consciousness, and the day before I had this big stroke, I sort of walked. It was nighttime. It was dark, and I sort of walked towards my kitchen, and there was this big shadowy figure with a hat, and it was big. It was a lot bigger than I am, and my ceilings are like 10 foot, and it was sort of getting towards the ceiling.
Oh my God!
And I was just astonished because I could see it. You know, I was awake. I was very awake, but I wasn't fully conscious, I suppose. It's hard to describe. But,
sure.
Sure.
And I just saw this thing, and I was like, oh my goodness, like what am I even looking at? And it was stood there, and then it walked through my counter, through the table, through the wall. So I told my husband, because I was a bit like, this is not cool. This is a bit weird.
Yeah.
And then I said, I've seen like these chairs moving, and he's like, oh yes, I did too. And the house felt a bit angry. We'd only just moved in. And all the light bulbs had blown on us, like every single light bulb had gone. And it's like, what are the chances of every light bulb going?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, true.
Absolutely.
But then, you know, so I just thought it was weird. And I mean, I have had other stuff happen to me in my life, but I just never paid attention to it. Like,
Right.
I mean, there was one time when I was driving in my car, and I came around this bend, and this voice just said, careful. But it was very clear. It was so clear and concise that I was just like, this is I have to be careful. So I put my foot on the brake. And about, I don't know, between 7 and 10 seconds later, a ginormous stag walked in front of me. And I stopped. I didn't hit it. And it just stared right at me. And I was like, okay, that was weird.
That's awesome.
But I didn't tell anyone. I never thought about it. And so when I saw this big figure, and with all my rare stuff, I mean, I started to joke that I was like an alien or I was like a Bigfoot. I was trying to prove Bigfoot exists. And we've got evidence, but I wasn't being believed. And then I just started listening to all the stories. And then I came across Paranormal Portal.
Yay.
And then I said about the figure that I saw with the hat, and then I shared a picture because I saw a picture of it online. So I shared a picture, and I think it was Android said, yeah, that's the Hat Man. And I'm like, the what man?
Yep, the Hat Man.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, but I never felt anything. Like I didn't. The house had an angry vibe, and it was my husband's parents' house. They built it.
Oh, okay.
And he'd moved out. So after all this sort of happened, someone said to him maybe his mum hadn't been told because she'd passed away. So my husband had a conversation with his mum, and sort of everything sort of calmed down.
Oh, neat.
But then this other stuff, like with the Hat Man and everything. I mean, it's just.
That's.
I mean, I like evidence, but I don't dismiss anything.
Right.
You know, like, and I just never thought I would hear things from other people that were similar to my stuff, and it's just so incredible. Like, and just recently I've had another brain posterior circulation issue, but I was seeing shadows again, and then I was looking into this DMT stuff, like the process of the brain and the sleep paralysis. I don't know. I just think there's something there. I can't really say anything further, but you know, and there's just been lots of other stuff that I'm hearing that I had when I was a kid, like telepathic games. Wow. I remember doing telepathic games with my siblings when I was very little. So I'm just on a journey at the moment, and I just thought maybe now was the right time to share that biggest thing that I had.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because with these episodes that you have, I think with the strokes and stuff, I think the brain has to remap things after that, right? Like a stroke is basically a damage. And so you may be opening up parts of your brain that would otherwise lie dormant for most of the rest of us. And maybe that's why you're able to perceive so much more, is because you're awakening centers of the brain and probably making them active just, as the body keeps working to repair itself. And so, I really wonder about that, especially after the last one. And now you're seeing shadows again. And I don't think it's a defect. I don't think it's like something broken. I think it's just you're awakening an awareness that most of us, don't get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the conclusion I came to, because I was stupid enough to say to the doctors, I was seeing things. And I don't know. Yeah. It's something that you have to experience to understand. I know Dean Harrison I've heard him on Cage Show talking about scientists being very, I'm not qualified to make any sort of statement, but sure. I understand the experience I've had and how closed-minded.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but it blew my head off that I have evidence of certain things and I was dismissed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I'm sure.
But yeah. I do. Sorry.
Go ahead. You're the caller.
I do. I do think you're right. I do, because I was very aware that I'd closed down to a lot of that stuff since I was a kid, as well. Like to, I don't know, probably go just very strong boundaries. I didn't really want any experiences. I didn't really want to acknowledge, like, especially like with the careful thing. I mean, I know it happened. It was so, and it was just so. I suppose some people would say it was coincidence, but there's just no way that could be a coincidence. Like, it wasn't my voice. It was not my voice. It wasn't, and it wasn't a voice either. It was just like a very, very clear message. Very, can't ignore it. Couldn't have.
And good thing you didn't.
That I had to be careful.
Yeah, and good thing you didn't ignore it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I trust my gut. I trust my intuition as well, and that's what's telling me there's something in me.
Right.
That there's something in, like you said, it's not a defect in my brain. Or the other thing I was going to say, it's like, because I have got a defect in my rib cage, and to cope with the pain, I do a lot of meditation.
Okay.
So that could be another thing.
Sure.
That I do a lot of meditation.
That's wonderful.
They could go hand in hand.
That thing that happened to me. Pardon?
Oh, I'll just say they could go hand in hand, Like,
Yeah. And I've written an email about my dad's experiences when I was a kid. So he was very tuned into things, whether he wanted to be or not.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like, when you were talking about playing telepathic games as a kid, it sounds like you have some ability that's in your family, because, most people can't do that,
Yeah. I was listening to this other, because I don't know any of this. I mean, lots of people seem to know a lot of stuff, and I don't know anything at all. I'm finding things out as I go, and as I listen, as I learn, and things just pop out. And I was listening to something about astral projection, and there was this girl on YouTube, but something that stuck out, and I even wrote it, I think, in the email that I've got ready to send to you, that she couldn't wait to go to sleep so she could fly. And that's something I've even said to my husband.
Wow.
Like, so when I was a kid, I remember, I don't know. I mean, I'm not claiming that I was flying. I'm not claiming, I know I was asleep when I was doing it, but I can still remember seeing the ceiling, in great detail. And I wondered whether it was my dad lifting me up, but I don't.
Sure.
I think I would have remembered that more than what I was seeing. And it's just really, enlightening, I suppose. Maybe that's a good word. Like when you just hear people say things that are uncanny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that dreams are very profound. I mean, I don't think that's just dreams. I think some people just can project, and they maybe project regularly through very natural methods. Like some people are just born into that. And it's another, I don't know if you call it a talent or what, but I can tell you, I think everybody's had lucid dreams where they could fly, and it's about the most magical feeling in the world. I loved the ones I had. It was like waking up was actually disappointing. Like, no, I can't.
Oh, yeah.
I want to do it again.
Yeah, well, I have distinctive memories of being about 7, I suppose, and I was trying my hardest to steer my dreams, and it was like I just lost the ability. It just went, and I could no longer control my dream. I just have vivid memories like that, but it just blows my head off when people say things, and you know, and I'm just like, wow, actually, maybe I'm not crazy, or maybe it wasn't just being a kid, or maybe, you know, and just getting really curious about it. But yeah, that Hatman thing, it really, I mean, I know there are theories around that, and I don't have any strong feelings on that. Sure. I wouldn't have said he was particularly, I think it was a he, I'm pretty sure it was a he.
Sure.
I wouldn't have said he was particularly malevolent or anything. Right. I didn't feel scared, just what the hell is that in my kitchen?
Yeah.
And that's not uncommon either. That's a lot of contact with the Hatman experiences are not negative in any way. They just seem kind of benign, like they're just there watching for whatever reason.
Benign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very profound. I think a lot of people think, you know, they hear Hatman and like, oh God, no, really? And, you know, some of the accounts are almost pleasant that people have had with these beings, whatever they are. So I don't think that they're all nefarious or evil. I just think they're just different. You know?
Yeah. And after I started doing the whole meditation thing as well, like with them, like I had one episode of lights in the sky, just a big blue flash in the sky, and my son was with me, and he was like, "Did you see that?" And I was like, "Yes, I saw that." And then it was like a satellite, but it was going way too fast, and it was way too high to be like a plane, and too small. But it was a big blue flash over the mountains that caught our attention, and then we saw this bright white ball just fly over our heads really fast.
Nice.
What was that? So, and obviously, a couple of months ago, I had the rock thrown at me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Thank you for what you said about maybe I've opened something up, because I think that's where I was going in my gut anyway. But I don't know, these things that, since I've been opening up in myself, regardless of what might be going on up there, you know, it does seem that, you know, like maybe I am like more open to some things.
Right.
But this has all happened over years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's happened over years. But the more and most of it happened before I started coming onto the lives, at least on Portal. But I didn't start looking this stuff up seriously, I think, until probably 2020.
Wow, well, that's fantastic.
So I'd had most of this stuff happening to me way before I even started looking up seriously. Like, I was joking about it, and then I thought, hang on, there might be something in this.
Well, I'm sure thrilled that you found us. I'm just really glad that you're part of the family, and thank you for calling in and being a part of the show. I look forward to that email.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I just love being here. It's great.
We love having you here, so don't go anywhere. Yeah. Stick around.
I won't. Take care.
All right, take care, Maggie. Thanks.
Take care, Maggie.
Bye.
All right, and we have another call coming in.
All right.
And this, hold on, I got a cough. No, I'm mute to avoid that, Sheldon. You don't have to.
I didn't do high pitch this time.
No,
you should be happy about that.
I appreciate that it was more masculine this time. But all right, let's get to the call. And this is area code 330. You're on the horn.
Hey, hi, Brent. Hi, Sheldon. How are you doing?
Hi, Dee. How are you?
Hi, Dee.
I'm groovy. I just, I don't know what we're on, if we're on our own experiences, but I do have a recent experience that somebody came on my live stream. Well, somebody came to me. It was through a friend, a new experiencer, and I think you're going to guess what happened before I even finish the story.
Okay, go ahead. So she starts seeing things on the porch. Well, she doesn't see it. The camera sees it. She takes a picture. The cat and the dog are flipping out. Mm-hmm. She takes a picture out on the porch outside to see what they're flipping out about. She sees nothing. When she looks at the picture, she sees a shadow person standing off to the right of the frame. Oh. She
couldn't see it with her eyes. She could see it with the camera, though. The camera took a picture of it. We're still trying to figure out exactly how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she also sent me a picture. I showed the one picture that she allowed me to send. There were two others that she wouldn't let me, but because they had people's faces in them. But she's afraid. One of them was over, okay, let me back up a little. One of the pictures that she sent me was of her family holding a baby, and there was, of course, ectoplasm over the baby's head.
Oh.
Okay, and that was pretty cool. And then she also sent a couple pictures. One was a ghost reflected in her large screen TV set, and the cat all puffed up, its fur all puffed up and frightened. And another picture, like I said, of the shadow figure off to the right of the frame on her porch that she couldn't see. Mm-hmm. She also couldn't see the ghost in the TV, and she couldn't see the white mist over the baby's head, the white ectoplasm over the baby's head, either, until it was, she saw the pictures. So, it wasn't funny for a while because it was pretty scary for her. She was terrified and didn't want to talk too much about it, but somehow my friend Jason, she decided she could tell him. And he said, well, you know what? I know a lady that handles that kind of stuff. I know a lady who knows all about this. So basically she had bought a mirror at a thrift shop. This was real interesting. So this TV that had the ghostly figure in it, it suddenly turned on and started flipping its channels with nobody with the remote.
Yikes.
Now, this was a common little thing they would do to Grandma when she was alive, just to play with her. Mm-hmm. They would take the remote out, flip channels on her just to play with her. So the channel started flipping on the TV, and she sees this shadowy figure, and can we guess? The mirror had a spirit attachment.
Oh, geez.
And Grandma showed up to watch over the baby. That's what the
ectoplasm,
the stuff over the baby's head.
Uh-huh.
And I said, 100%, I'm sure of this. Grandma came to protect that baby. Mm. So she decided to give the mirror away. She said, yeah.
Let someone else deal with it. Yeah. Oh, no.
And I'm like, wait a minute, you gave it away. Did you warn the people? Did you do anything to it? Did you no, I just didn't want it. And they're like, oh, no.
Your problem now.
This thing, yeah, I'm like, no. You don't do. Well, I mean, I understand she had a baby, and so she will not, and this is what really kind of hurts to hear. She's afraid to tell anybody or get, anything done because she's afraid that people are going to think she's crazy and take her baby away.
Oh, yeah.
Lose custody of their child. Mm-hmm. And I think that is just so sad that you can't even seek help, and you have to be afraid of something like that.
Right.
But for some reason, out of the blue, she just decides that she can trust Jason enough to tell him, and he told me. So, she did actually. But honestly, I'm there like, is that not sad? Experiencers really have a hard time. I mean, being believed, getting help.
Sure. Yeah.
It's sad.
It is. It's very sad.
But how many times have we heard of people getting an item from a thrift store or a sale or something, secondhand item, and it's got an attachment?
Sure.
If I can say one thing, just people, please be careful with these items, okay? I mean, especially something like a mirror,
Right.
because, mirrors especially seem to have this kind of thing. Certain items like mirrors, dolls, certain other things, but I hear it the most. Mirrors and dolls
Right.
seem to be two of the things that I hear this about the most. Please check them out, because yes, if you're having trouble, you need to have something done about that, and giving it away to somebody else, it might solve your problem, but it might give them problems, and then they're,
Just give it to
having to deal with it, but she wouldn't say who she gave it to.
give it to someone you don't like.
Yeah, give it to somebody you don't like. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let them figure it out, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay. So that's my piece.
Well, thanks.
What do you guys think of that one?
I think that's true. I think that a lot of times, people think that a house has to be old or have tragic events in it to have hauntings, but there's lots of ways to introduce spiritual elements into your life, and one of them is by thrift or yard selling or going to antique shops or just items that are given. They can come with all kinds of problems. So be careful. I agree. I think that's great advice, and I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it makes me wonder why these items. I mean, I'm sure there are other items that do have the same, that can have the same thing, but why?
I don't know.
At least is it known that it's more commonly mirrors or dolls or whatever else it might be?
Well, many cultures regard the mirror historically as a very sacred object, and they're used in a lot of esoteric practices, like the psychomantium, where you stare into a mirror to make contact with spirits, or for scrying. Lots of different uses of mirror.
Quite often they can be, need I say, portals.
Yep. They can be portals. Yep. Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So.
Well, why dolls?
And people do use them for all kinds of magic.
Yes. Yeah. There's many.
It's a very big, broad category of magic, mirror magic.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
So really, I'd say any mirror you get, even maybe one from the store, I would wonder about. Yeah. I would just double check. And one of the things you can do, other than smudging it with sage, there's also, you can take salt water, sea salt water, and make a cross symbol on it. Mm-hmm. You can, or wash it with mugwort is another thing people do, or salt water, or, there are things that you can do to help deactivate that.
Yep.
But sometimes you need a practitioner to help you.
Yep, absolutely. Great.
So please, people, be careful with second, because it's coming summer here now. We're getting into the summertime. We're getting into garage sale season.
Time to go shopping.
True.
Time to go shopping. Well, thank you for calling in. I really appreciate it. It's good to hear from you, Dee.
Yeah, good to hear from you.
Okay, good to hear from you too. Okay. Love you guys.
All right, love you too.
We
Take care.
Love you too.
Yeah.
See ya.
That's good advice. Got to be careful what you bring into your world.
So why dolls?
Dolls? Well, there's some beliefs that suggest that dolls were never invented as child's playthings. They were always the earliest. Some of the earliest uses allegedly were for vessels for the spirits. And there is plenty of beliefs like that's why the Amish don't allow faces on their dolls, is they think without a face, a spirit won't possess it. But once you have a face on it, it can very easily be possessed by a doll, or by a spirit rather. So I don't know. I think that's anything can be a vessel for something to attach to. But I think maybe for spirits, a doll is a more attractive option because it looks like something like they may have looked like in life, and but I wonder. Also it's because they're child playthings. Well, if you're a dark spirit and you want to get into somebody, start as something the child loves, so it can be really twisted as well. So be careful with stuff you bring into your world, because when you do, you bring in some kind of energy with it, mostly benign, I'm sure, but every once in a while can get dark.
Yeah, because when you think about it, if something is attached to an object and you bring it in your house and add it to your, I don't know, decoration, decorum, whatever, in a sense, might be giving what's attached to it permission as well, inadvertently.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So lots of good words of advice there. So appreciate the call. All right. Let's no more calls. So let's move on. Let's see what time is it? Oh, it's already 8:27. Okay, well I got some phantoms and monsters reports that I wanted to work through because there's some good ones sitting here, but I think we'll read a couple more of these first and then we'll go on to the phantoms and monsters reports from Lon Strickler's site and check it out. Is there anything in the chat we've missed? By the way, let's just do some shout outs.
I agree. We should.
We should do what? What?
Shout outs.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you were agreeing to at first. All right. So if you are here and want to, excuse me, if you want my burp, there it was. But if you want to shout out, start chatting because that's the only way I know you're here. So if you're watching, that's fine too if you just want to watch quietly. But so far we've got Aggravated Progressive here. Elise is here. Android is here. Braveheart 0484 is here. Cashew Gesundheit, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. It's been a while. D, of course, is here, who just called in. Ghost Magnet 81 is here. Lava Time, Maggie 10, Mr. G. Mr. G's a new name. And we heard from Maggie as well. That was cool. Paradox Fossils. Somebody else popped in. Oh, Dan Dawson. Good to see you, Dan. Thanks for coming in. Rachel gets it right. Ruger Ridge, the Pharmacy Seeds Network. Hey, a farm, Ruger, Rachel. Good to see you guys. The Fourth Color and Tracy Gale are here. So good to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming in and being a part of the festivities of the Paranormal Portal. And let's see. Boo. Rachel says boo.
And
I just saw Rachel said boo. Boo. This is the Paranormal Portal. That fits perfectly. All right.
So scary.
Absolutely. Let's go to number 29 on our list of fun here, Sheldon. Beam me out. Absolutely. Was that what you're going to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
I know you. I know you quite well. All right. Number 29, beam me out. My dad bought a large old house. It was really run down, but his plan was to renovate it. His first job was to remove the chimney stack in the attic. And one day, he was working up there alone, routing around in the roof beams when he came across a piece of paper. He reached over to pick it up, but it was jammed behind one of the beams. Well, as he reached over, right in his ear, he heard the most horrific scream he had ever heard. Not in the room, but right by his ear. He got out of there fast. Later on, he opened the paper, and it was a last wishes note dated from the 1940s from someone who took their own life. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, don't know who wrote it. There's a permalink attached to it, so we don't know who is the author for that, but wow, what a horrible experience. And then the scream on top of that. It's already a pretty dark thing, just being somebody's last wishes. That obviously nobody found, or maybe they did find it, but just stuffed it back in there. But at any rate, damn, I'm froggy tonight. Woo! All right, number 30. Here
comes the frogs.
Ribbit. Well, number 30, it was almost the end of the road. Years ago, some friends and I went to investigate an area called Demon Road. Okay, public service announcement. If something has a demon in the name of it, don't go investigating. Just stay away. Go watch TV instead. That's a much better use of your time. If it starts with demon, that's not going to be good. They went to a place called Demon Road, where there had been an accident and shootout that left 2 people dead. The car was never taken from the spot it crashed, and many angry spirits never left. We parked on the dirt road, and a truck pulled in from the other side. A woman got out. She walked to my window and said, "You be careful." She got back in her truck and drove off. I got out, rubbed some dirt on my car in an attempt to reveal her fingerprints, and headed down Demon Road. About a quarter of a mile down the road, things went from eerie to bone-chilling instantly. First, I felt a cold punch on my chest and froze in my tracks. I tried to walk forward, but again felt a press on my chest. I turned back to my car with a friend while everyone else continued to their vehicles. About 30 minutes later, the group came back and we started comparing pictures, audio, and EMF readings. And one of the girls asked the guy next to her, "Why did you pull my hair?" But he said he didn't. About 10 seconds later, she screamed, "Something jerked my ponytail." We scrambled back to our cars and sped back to the city. When we got back to civilization, I got out, saw handprints and finger drawings all over my car. The most compelling were 2 smeared handprints on my truck as if someone was hanging on and lost their grip and slid down the trunk. The Roman numeral 12, XII, was also fingered into the dust, and it was the scariest encounter of my life. Okay, also, word of advice. Say you do decide to go poke around someplace like that, and you do have experiences. You don't just pile into your car and leave. You've got to close that off. You've got to close it off. You've got to make statements of intent. You cannot follow me. You are not allowed. You are not allowed to leave this place with me or attached to me or to any one of my possessions, my vehicle, etc. You need to probably say prayers or use some other way to stop whatever's going on there, because that's a great way to introduce something to your home. Something can attach, and it's my belief anyway. And so I would urge you, if you go out there investigating, make sure, not only do you, maybe ask for protection or get protection through whatever spiritual means you observe before you start, but when you end, close it off the same way, because you're asking for contact with other entities, other beings. And when you do that, you have to set real clear parameters, because you may end up something coming home with you because you didn't say it couldn't. So just my word of advice. There's not a whole lot of difference between something like this and doing a seance in some ways, because you're inviting contact with other entities. And so if you ever do an actual seance, you set your scene, you set your environment, you start with, cleansings and prayers or whatever you observe. And then when you're done, you close it. You have to close this stuff off in a very spiritual and symbolic way. You can't just say, okay, we're done. Let's go watch TV, grab a pizza. That doesn't count. So just my words of advice, take them or leave them. I'm no
unless
expert.
You want some more friends at home.
Yeah, unless you want more company. I'm just saying. Number 31, the cat was out of the bag. When I was young and living in Salem, Massachusetts, my mom was reading me a bedtime story and trying just to get me to fall asleep. Suddenly I said to her, "He says you shouldn't be sad." My mom asked, "Who said that?" I replied, "The man with the cat on his arm." The reason my mom was sad was that my dad's brother had passed right before I was born. My parents hadn't talked to me about it when I was young. My uncle had a large traditional-style panther tattooed on his arm. I had never seen or heard him before and hadn't seen any pictures of his tattoo. Wow. See, that's
another instance of kids.
Okay, so this is... Oops, I muted myself. This is a great example of what, like Maggie was talking about. She was talking about when she was young, they did the, different things. Oh, we got another call. We'll get to the call in just a second. Hang on. But the kids are wide open in a lot of ways. A lot of kids get really clearly. They can sit and have absolute discussions and dialogue with spirits and people that have passed. And we've covered thousands of those stories throughout the course of the show. And, she said that now she's starting to open up again. And I think that's a lot of what's going on. Something about our brain when we're young, or our physiology, allows for that contact very clearly and easily. But then as we get older, maybe it's puberty, maybe it's life, maybe it's being an adult or a young person that starts closing that stuff off. But, to reopen that takes a lot of work. So, but kids can do it. Let's get to the call, because we've got a caller on hold, and we'll get to it now. And this is area code 701. You're on the air.
Hey, good night. Good evening, Brent and Sheldon.
Hi, good evening to you.
Smoking Joe.
Hey, Smoking Joe. How you doing, brother?
Good evening.
Good.
Good. What's on
So
your mind?
I want to, okay, first of all, I've never had a dream that I was flying, but I have dreams that I'll float if I hold my breath.
Oh, cool. That's pretty cool.
I don't know. Yeah. I never have dreams of flying, but I often have dreams where I float if I hold my breath. I thought that was odd.
That's pretty cool.
I wanted to ask you, Brent, if you'd ever seen the movie Sir No Face on Amazon Prime, I think.
No.
Are you familiar with the gentleman from Stardust Ranch?
A little bit. I'm a little bit familiar with what he had going. He had the gray aliens and stuff going on down there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sir No Face was, I think it took place in Australia, and they were doing some ghost hunting in some prison or something.
Oh.
And they happened to catch some footage of what they originally thought was a ghost, and after people had told them, no, that looks a lot like a gray, they kind of investigated a little bit further, and it looks. I don't know if anybody ever seen the two movies, but the two of them look like identical. It's crazy that there was some pictures taken in Australia.
Wow. Or
some video footage. And then also the video footage from Stardust Ranch when he's talking, you can see one peek out from behind a door behind him. Oh. And the two of them look uncanny similar.
Wow. So is Sir No Face, is it a documentary style or is it a dramatization?
Yeah, like Chris Isaac, I want to say his name is.
Okay.
God, I can't remember. Sure.
I'm gonna write that down.
Well, it was supposed to be a documentary. I don't know. The Australian government had given these people, this particular paranormal group, like explicit rights to investigate this prison, and then they were going to tell people about their findings, but for whatever reason, they shut it down after they found out a bunch of interesting things, and they never did ever make it public.
Oh, wow. Oh, and that's on the Sir No Face?
I was just curious. Yeah, Sir No Face. I was just curious if anybody else out there had ever noticed a correlation. There was a third movie, too, where I happened to notice just how unbelievably similar these gray aliens look. Like, and if people are faking this or if they're making it up, I don't know where they're getting their imagination from or they're getting the pictures from, because they look so incredibly close. It's ridiculous.
I'll tell you that, I was just having a discussion similar in some ways to what we're talking about now with Jack Carey, who I interviewed on the podcast. And he, I was talking with him about the striking similarity between hauntings and some extraterrestrial contact, like with the Greys and stuff. I mean, it's really hard sometimes to figure out which one you're dealing with. If it wasn't for the photos, I'm sure both of these cases, they would have thought it was just spiritual. But, having the photo evidence as well, I think really helps to, possibly point to the extraterrestrial presence. And it's very bizarre.
Yeah, I agree. The more I listen to the paranormal stories or the ghost stories or alien or Bigfoot, the more I start to think that they seem so related. They're intertwined or connected somehow.
Right. Yeah. If you get a chance, listen to our latest podcast, and you can find that on Spotify and iTunes. It's kind of a shameless self-plug, but it really does tie into what you're talking about. I mean, I think you'll really enjoy this episode because Jack talks about several things having to do with one paranormal event, and it almost acts as an infectant. Like people, they've documented this many times that one person will have an event happen, and then everyone around them starts to have events, and it just continues to spread out like that, and it's really profound. And I can just tell you that talking to Jack was like one of those rare interviews where I was just like, my head's just blowing up. Because it's so fascinating to consider all of this stuff, and maybe there is an interrelationship between phenomena, and that's pretty mind-blowing.
That sounds very similar to the hijackers that people talk about, or hitchhikers that people talk about.
Yeah. What do they say?
Or people go to. Well, if people go to visit a haunted place and they're not careful,
Oh, right. Yeah.
they'll follow them home and they call them hitchhikers.
Yep. Or attachments. Yep. Yep. I've always referred to them as attachments, but yeah, same philosophy. They just they don't leave you alone. But
Yeah.
it's very interesting stuff, man. And I appreciate you coming on the show and excuse me, and talking to us about it. That's fascinating.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great job. Thanks for all you do.
All right. Take care, brother.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Very cool. Yeah. I'm going to have to watch that Sir No Face. I often don't know what to watch when I turn. I have Prime and I look at them, just all these names and titles are going by. I'm like, wonder if that's good. Wonder if that's a waste of my time. So I don't end up watching much because I can't quite make up my mind. So I always like recommendations. If you guys have other recommendations of paranormal stuff, then by all means, let me know.
It's pretty recent too. It's 2018.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. That sounds like it's right up my alley. I sometimes sit here in the studio as I'm doing other things, and then I end up watching Prime or listening to a show as I'm doing other things for the shows, so it works out good. Yeah, that'll be a good one. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. All right, what are we doing for time? We got 8:43, so I want to get to some phantoms and monster stuff. We'll leave this here. I want to get to a couple phantoms and monsters reports. We'll get to what we can. This was an interesting one that I pulled up. I was like, oh, we got to talk about this one on the show. Again, this is from phantomsandmonsters.com, ladies and gentlemen, Lon Strickler's site. Fascinating, wonderful site. He takes reports. They do research. They got investigators that work with his Phantoms and Monsters team all over the nation with many different phenomena. So if you get a chance, stop by phantomsandmonsters.com and support what he's doing. And he also has a podcast himself. It's called Phantoms and Monsters Radio. And you can find all that information over on phantomsandmonsters.com. So I just really appreciate that he lets us use some of this stuff for the show because it's incredibly interesting. So this is a report that he got from May 18th, 2022. Bipedal wolf pack stalked family in Palmyra, Maine. So that sounds absolutely bizarre, like some Dogman stuff. It's what it sounds like, or at least wolf people. But let's see what it says.
What a pack. Yeah.
Oh, it says in an episode of Paranormal Witness, a family was being stalked by creatures resembling bipedal wolves. The investigation was originally conducted by Linda Godfrey, and she was part of the presentation. I've posted the pre-show description followed by an interview with Shelley Rockwell Martin. And it's from season 3, episode 9, The Wolf Pack. And subject names, Shelley Rockwell Martin. And it's from Palmyra, Maine. Strange bipedal creatures stalk a Maine family. The Martin family had downsized their lives. A workplace injury had devastated Eric, and Shelley had left her job to take care of her husband. As a result, they were looking for a less expensive place to live. Shelley had found a beautiful older farm in Palmyra that was just what they needed. It was surrounded by dense woods. Eric's family had always been hunters, and his fairly extensive collection of guns was a bone of contention with Shelley. With the help of Eric's son, Sean, Eric built a strongbox to hold the guns under the lock and key in the barn. I think I've heard of this one. Eric and Shelley had a routine of evening coffee on the sheltered porch, provided it wasn't too cold out. One night they noticed strange pulsating lights down past the tree line. At first, Sean thought it was just a poacher with a flashlight, but something didn't seem right. Shelley thought it was unnatural. Eric and Sean headed out into the field to investigate. As they approached the woods, the lights went out. It was so quiet, the snap of a tree branch underfoot echoed. Eric sent Sean around with his flashlight off, hoping to catch any potential poacher unaware. Eric felt something far beyond any fear he'd ever felt hunting. All Eric and Sean found was each other, and not even a track on the ground to give them a hint of what they had seen. Chelsea's boyfriend Nathan came for a visit, and they decided to go for a walk into the woods with the dogs. The dogs ran out ahead of them, catching a scent, and when Chelsea and Nathan caught up, the dogs were rooting around by a large hole in the ground. Nathan thought that the overly round hole had been dug with care. Chelsea had a bad feeling about the whole thing and urged them to leave, and finally he agreed. What had the dogs found? It was Memorial Day weekend, and Shelley was making the evening coffee. The dogs didn't want to go outside to their pen. Something wasn't right. Eric noticed that it was particularly quiet on that misty morning. When Eric heard an odd sound in the distance, he knew there was some sort of danger out there. Eric began to usher Shelley into the house. She protested, but when she heard some rustling in the distance, accompanied by 5 sets of eyes looking back at them, she realized the danger. They rushed into the house and locked the door. Eric knew it wasn't a bear, but it was huge and dangerous. The guns were in the barn. Eric wasn't sure his family was safe in the house, and Eric wanted to get the guns, but Shelley told him to stay. So she went up to Chelsea's room and woke her daughter. Chelsea was half awake when she looked out the window, but laid back down and went back to sleep. All 5 of the creatures were still there. One stood on its hind legs and looked right at Shelley. Eric felt an instinct to protect his family. With the creatures in the distance, he thought he might be able to get the family car backed up close enough to get them out. Even with his disability, Eric went outside. Shelley went through the house. Closing the windows, she finally found the 2 hunting dogs hiding in a shadowy corner. If the dogs were scared, Shelley was concerned. Eric reached the porch, then realized he might have to have the distance to get there. It was going to be the longest 20 feet of his life. He started to slowly walk toward the car. When he finally reached it, grabbed the keys and trying to unlock the door, the motion sensor lights popped on. Eric was frightened and very vulnerable. Suddenly he was face to face with one of the creatures. It tried to reach the light, but something stopped it. It bolted off into the darkness. Eric made for the house as quickly as he could. They decided to call the police, hoping for someone else to drive in while they were remain sheltered. The police didn't take them seriously, telling Shelley to close the windows and lock the doors. Nobody was coming. They were on their own. Shelley set up a view from Chelsea's window. She could see the whole farm from there. Eric was downstairs, frustrated and upset, and it occurred to him that the creatures were either afraid or hurt by the light. That had to be why they didn't attack him. He made the decision to use that light to get out of the barn and fetch a gun. He went out and flailed his arms in desperate attempt to trigger the motion sensor. When the light came on, Eric realized that the eyes were staring back at him, surrounding him. Eric was being hunted. He had to get back into the house, and he got back as quickly as he could, barely making it before the light went out. That's a terrible light. You need a switch.
Yeah.
Shelley heard them approach. They were on the other side of the house, outside wall, and if they wanted in, they were going to get in. Her family was being held hostage in their house by these creatures. They weren't able to get the guns. There weren't any police coming. What were they going to do? Grabbing every sharp implement they could find, Shelley went and woke Chelsea. They needed all hands awake and alert, and they all went into the master bedroom and laid on top of the bed, armed, waiting for daylight to come. When they heard the creatures outside, they were petrified. The only thing between the Martins and the creatures was the bedroom window. When morning came, they could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The creatures were gone. Eric called Sean, who came over and helped look for tracks. The tracks they did find were huge, with enormous claws. They showed a creature who could walk on 2 feet. These creatures had been hunting, stalking. Were they werewolves? To this day, nobody knows. And this is the interview with the witness. How long is this? It's going to be a long one. Okay. I guess this will be the last thing we'll read today. So let's get into the interview. It says, do you have any theories on what it could have caused the strange white lights in the forest? Did they ever happen again? We did have several theories. We tried to figure it out. It didn't happen after that episode. It started 3 weeks before the episode, and we thought anything from like a hunting light, like a lot of hunters, and then we were getting ready for the season, deer season, moose season, whatever season, bear. They put cameras, wildlife cameras, up to see if there's a pathway for the wildlife. We found out it wasn't that. We didn't know. We thought maybe it was something to do with a UFO. I'd never seen a UFO, but that was something we considered. We even considered maybe someone was up in the tree doing it on purpose, and it was a joke. Found out that wasn't that either. So, yeah, we had a few theories, but we never landed on any one thing, and it didn't happen after those beasts appeared. What was going on through your mind when you first saw the sets of eyes staring back at you in the yard? Were you able to see the animals' bodies at all? When we were sitting there, of course, it was around 10 at night, and to this day, I don't know how Eric, my husband, could have felt something like it was a sixth sense. He said You need to get up and go in the house. When I shined the floodlight, I had this huge floodlight that you could see forever with, hundreds of feet, but these were only about 20 feet from us. There were 3 that were crawling towards us, so I didn't see the 5 all at once. I saw the 3, and when I put the light on them, that's what the shock was. Even 4 seconds can feel like 4 hours. You're just mesmerized. And they got up, and they went sideways and stayed all together, and all I could think of, the thigh going down to the leg. The thigh reminded me of a kangaroo, and the foot, what was odd about it had a very long arch and a heel like a human, and then it walked on. And they didn't really look like toes as much as they looked like canine paws. The very long nails sticking out of it, and the reason I saw the nails is when they lifted their foot up, the dew was in the grass and you could see it shining. The color of the fur was light brown and very, very, very dark brown. It was smooth on their body and on their back. They had a hunchback. The fur was very smooth on their legs, but around their heads it was wild. It was sticking up and tufty. I don't think it was matty looking as much as just unkempt. Their ears were on the side of their heads and went straight up past the top of their head, about 3 inches above it. It looked similar to how someone looks when they cover their ears with their hands and when they don't want to listen to someone or want to block out loud noise. Their eyes were huge, and they were greenish-yellow fluorescent, bright. And the bridge of their nose was about 7 inches. They were about 7 feet tall. We measured where he was standing by that 10-foot door. How long were you living in the house before this incident? We'd been there about, I'm going to say maybe a year and a half, a year maybe. I think we had gone through one season and we were coming around to that season again. Can you describe any sights and sounds you heard throughout the rest of the night when you were barricaded in the room together? Rustling on the grass. We knew they were really there. They were really there in the morning because the dew by our bedroom window, the dew was disturbed. And also when they were running, you could feel it. They were so big and heavy, you could actually feel the rumble of the ground. Even on the porch, you could feel it on your feet. And then when we went to the bedroom, and we really didn't go to bed per se, there was no way we were going to bed. The way the bed was set up, it's a king-size bed, and there was a window on my side and a window on Eric's side, and all we could think about was these guys can just touch the glass and grab us. The only thing between them and us was that a thin, tiny glass in the wall of the bedroom. You could hear them moving around. I don't think they were talking to each other or what was going on. They were making these demonic noises, and it was almost like a growl, but it was a communication noise. You could hear they were moving around because the bedroom was on the end of the house, so they had 3 walls that they could walk around. So their voices, of course, would carry differently, and they didn't bump up against the house. They didn't hit the house. Nothing like that. They just hung out. Did the creatures disappear as soon as light broke? Yes, we were up and out of there as soon as we had daylight, and there were footprints like in the mist, in the dew, the grass like the cat o' nine tails, and the long slow grass around the farm pond. The grass that sticks up out of the farm pond was all laid down. Was there any evidence that you were able to collect, and did it all fade when the grass started to grow back and the dew disappeared? We tried to take a flash picture of them by the farm pond, but it didn't work. And then in the morning, I took my cell phone, and it was able to get the prints in the dirt. I got the new phone for Mother's Day for my daughter in the next time, and she took my phone. She took my thing, my little thing that goes in the phone, a SIM card, and she took all of it and gave me a new phone for a family plan as a gift, and I lost everything. Are you still in the home? No, we started looking for a place immediately. Yes, you did, and you should. And we were able we were in the process of looking for something to buy anyway. This just worked out really, really well. Since then, we purchased the home that I grew up in as a child, but it took a while to get there to where we are. But yeah, things are very good. We were looking to leave, and that was just the icing on the cake. Have you had any other paranormal unexplained incidents on that property? Eric would talk about this little girl and had mentioned her quite a few times, actually. Of course, he wouldn't tell anybody at first, and he said, Shelley, She's got to be about, I don't know, maybe 12, 13, 10. She's in the loft a lot. And he said, I swear I heard something on the stairs. I looked. It doesn't look like she really knows I'm there. She's got braids. She's unkempt and has these boots that lace up, the leather ones, and an old outfit on, but she looks mean. She doesn't look happy, and she never really has eye contact with him or anything. Well, he'd mentioned her being outside, being in the house, and it wasn't a big deal to either one of us. And that's all that's all that's going to happen. That's great. We'll take it. Did the little girl ever do anything other than just show up? There was one night, and the dogs always slept in our rooms. They were at the end of our bed, on their thick beds, and their own beds were on the floor. And I've trained myself to sleep on my back because I get backaches, and I'll never forget this. I had my feet just down and my hands across my chest, and it was something or someone slapped the top of my right foot. Like they just walked up to the side of the bed and slapped my foot. And I bolted. I just sat right up in bed and turned the nightlight on, and I looked at the bottom of the bed. I scooted because it's a king-size bed, and I scooted and looked, and the two dogs were on the opposite side of the bed, hiding, where you couldn't see them between the wall and the bed on Eric's side. But I don't know what it was. I don't know. Was I half asleep? Did I dream it? You always debunk yourself. Many questions run through Shelley's mind about the Wolfpack incident. You wonder things. Are they still around? Is there a mental telepathy kind of thing that goes on? Do they follow you? How many people have just seen these things? What are they? We went through every scenario. Like, are they people dressed in suits? Probably not. Are these funky glasses they can put on? But there's no way they could be 7 feet tall. Is it some joke with a hologram? Well, I'm just not that important for anyone to give a darn whether or not this happens to me. You know, I don't have anything stand out about myself in the community that way. We tried to go through everything in our minds over the years, and we can't come up with anything. Shelley details how this incident changed her life forever. This whole ordeal changed my life in many, many ways. First, it has made me realize there are things out there we simply don't know about and don't consider. I do not believe these beasts were completely out of this world, and it still haunts me regarding what they wanted from us all. If they had wanted to rip us into tiny shards, they sure could have. What did they want? What were they trying to show or tell us something? Did they want my daughter or me? They had obviously been around and about the farm before the actual encounter. They didn't hurt the two dogs. Since the incident, the visit from the beasts, if I'm saying I'm staying in a camp or cottage, I always let someone know exactly where I am going and when I'm leaving and when I'm returning and how to reach me. I also let someone know who I'm with so they will know how many of us are there. Trust me, it wouldn't seem so obsessive or paranoid if you'd gone through what we all went through. The whole incident never completely goes away in my mind, and although life goes on and exciting new adventures, I definitely increased caution and safety factors into my daily living. I have a great respect for the unknown, and unlike some who think having an encounter similar to ours would be exciting and fantastic, I caution those people to please be careful what you wish for. A very humbling experience indeed. Also, I no longer judge another person's alleged experiences or make a determination of whether or not they have embellished their story with these incidents because it seems unheard of or out of the ordinary, as in paranormal. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you're being stalked by wolf things, yeah, I don't know how horrifying that would be, but I can only imagine that would be just completely terrifying. Horribly terrifying.
Yeah, plus you have to consider that there's also another aspect to consider, like when people think that these are exciting experiences because everyone always ends up safe afterwards, is survivorship bias. How do you know that there aren't similar stories like this, that people just mysteriously disappear in the woods?
Well, there are.
And they're just never found.
Yeah, exactly. I think that David Pilates, that covers the missing 411 stuff, I'm pretty sure that some of his stories could be because of things like this. I mean,
yeah,
we know so little. That's the thing. We have this hubris, this idea of our own superiority, but I mean, there's things out there we just don't understand. And I'm not trying to make people afraid, but I think it's you have to look at the natural world with an incredible amount of respect, because even the known things out there are incredibly dangerous and lethal to us, and there's so many things in this world that can dispatch us in a heartbeat, just like boom. And, so, and what don't we know? What haven't we learned about yet? Things that are out there that are not just the normal everyday things, but they are specialized specifically to hunt and to prey on things, and perhaps have ability or, possibility of doing things we can't quite understand. And that's where it gets like they become like a super predator, right? Because they are huge, they are big, they are strong, they are fast, they may be able to just dissipate and disappear, who knows. So be careful. I agree with that. But
yeah, I mean, imagine what would have if there wasn't shelter, if there wasn't a light to shine, if they were all in the woods, I don't know, coming back from I don't know, whatever it was, whatever they were there for, I don't remember. But like if there wasn't shelter, may have been just another missing family.
Yeah, exactly. There's I was just watching something on the Land Between the Lakes, the family that was destroyed there. And it's horrid. These people were in a camper, and the camper was devastated by what looks like a huge wolf being, and people were shredded, like a whole family was shredded. So that's in the Land Between the Lakes. So it's a pretty horrifying tale, and very cautionary tale. And so even if you're in a camper, it doesn't offer a lot of protection to something that is super strong and has tools and abilities that are so much beyond our own. So thanks so much for hearing our things. I really appreciate you, the co-host, the community, and the show. We appreciate you too, Maggie. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for calling in, and it's a pleasure to talk with you. Is Dee still here? Because she's still attached to our phone lines. Dee, did you forget to hang up your phone? Just putting it out there. Make sure you hang up your phone. Who Me is here, and that's a new name. How you doing, Who Me? Thanks for coming in, checking out the show. Who Me says, oof. What's oof? Oof, that's the sound when you get hit in the gut. Oof. Aw, thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie.
That's very sweet. Thank you so much. So I think Dee fell asleep, maybe. She's still on our phone line. Should we see if we can hear her snore? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. Yeah, just embarrass her.
No, I'm just kidding. Just a joke. I would never do that. There she is. You're here. Well, you're still connected to my phone line, Dee. Is your phone hung up? We'll see if it disappears now. I got to see. You're still connected to the phone line. And just so you know, I see your phone number is still there. Although it's muted, but it's still there. But anyway, I don't know. I think that's been a heck of a journey into the paranormal portal. What do you think, Sheldon? We even did 5 minutes over.
Oh, we did overtime. Well, that's for you guys for free.
Turn all of the lights off and close the portal good. I know that I'm glad that I am home. Can't beat the commute. Can't beat the commute.
Right.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of the journey. Sheldon, any way they can stay connected?
Nope. Just kidding. No, of course.
Nope. There, Dee hung up her phone. There we go. Yep.
All right. So if you guys want to stay connected to us and the community in general and the amazing links that these guys share in all of the categories in the channel, here's the Discord link right in the chat. You can join if you have Discord, or if you want to make a new one, we'd love to have you on there.
Just want to thank you all for being here. It's been a hell of a journey into the portal.
Boy.
I just want to thank you all because you make me smile. That's all I got for you, folks. Love you all. Have a great night, and we will see you on the next show. So don't be afraid to come on back. That'll be Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I think Don will be here. And Sheldon, you won't be here on Saturday. So
I shall not.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. So then we'll have to cover for your absence.
Maybe. If I'm there, I'll be late. So
okay.
Either way.
All right. Well, in either way, the Paranormal Portal is live right here on YouTube every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So if you want to check out our shows, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every time. So they don't have to remember different times. We're always on the same time. So yeah, that's the first time I've ever played my guitar on the show. So
I thought so. Wow, that was nice.
Well, thank you very much. That's actually a part of a song that I wrote. So
you should read a whole story, just like doing a riff, just like background music. I'd love to hear that.
Here's the song I should do. It's like, what is it? What is it? People are strange. Sorry. Anyway. Anyway, that's it, folks. This is an old 1960s acoustic. It's a kid's guitar, but I was playing it because it's small. It fits right by the desk. So anyway, guys, love you guys. And deliverance song. You got a pretty mouth. Just saying. All right, folks, that's it. That's all we got. We'll see you on Friday if you're here. Who's that name? There's Smoking Joe. Thanks for calling in too, Smoking Joe. It was great to hear from you. Thanks, Dee, for calling in, and thank you, Maggie. It was great to hear from you guys tonight. And we'll be back Friday night. So we'll see you then right here on the portal. Ruger, did you get your shirt? Ruger, did you get your shirt? I'll let you take a few seconds to answer. Play more.
Yeah, while Ruger's typing.
Maggie did a banjo. That's a banjo, Maggie. I ain't got no banjo.
He's not Southern. He's not a Southerner.
I don't know what I play. I can't play anything that's going to give me a copyright strike, though, you know?
Oh, good point. Do something original.
Just something original. I don't know what original is. There's a little fret noise on this thing, but it's a good little guitar. Oh, there's...
That's not original.
Oh, that's not original. That's one way or another.
Ruger says, yep, he did. Yes, the wife loves it.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Anyway, that's it, guys. I love you bunches, and we'll see you on Friday. I can't play Deliverance. I'd have to sit down and figure that out. I don't even know how it goes. So good night, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you on Friday. I'm going to quit saying that because I've been repeating it for the last 5 minutes.
You have.
Good night.
Woo!